Hi guys! So, since I mentioned that I was going to do travel videos, by the title you can kind of guess that this is a travel tip video. Yeah, so I'm just going to get right into giving you some tips. So these are just my tips that I use. Okay, so my first tip is if you have some time until you are planning to go on your trip, I would say search for flights beforehand, not necessarily to book them, but just to get an idea of how much the flights are going to cost around the time that you're going to travel. So I would say start looking at flights maybe 8 months in advance, just to kind of get a general idea beforehand how much tickets are, and then keep checking as it gets closer. My cutoff time when booking flights, at least my first flight, I always try to book my first flight to my first destination, whether it be a round trip or a one-way pass. I always find that during the month of February is when I get the best deals for flights for the summertime. So I always try to book by February. Try not to go too much over February. I don't try to go into March, but March you can also get like decent deals. But I always try to book at least my first flight in February. Okay, so the second tip that I can give you about finding cheap flights is to use budget airlines. There are more budget airlines in Europe than there are in the US, but we do have some. So I'm gonna list them below so you can click on all the links, and it'll take too long for me to list all of them. But we have like Spirit, we have Southwest in the US, and those are some budget airlines. And then we also have in Europe Ryanair, EasyJet for Europe. So there's different airlines you can always check. I like to look at the budget airlines mostly when I already booked my first initial destination. That way I can get a cheaper price on all the destinations that I'm going to afterwards. And again, I always price check that with other search engines to make sure that I'm getting the best price possible, because sometimes even in a budget airline you might have to pay the same amount that you would just through a regular airline. So I just try to match it up to see which one I can save, which airlines are going to help me save more money. When you're booking your flight, get an idea of where you're going to book. So you can check through the different booking sites like Kayak, Expedia, Priceline, or you can go to the airline themselves, the airline's website, and book through them as well. Sometimes it's cheaper, sometimes it's more expensive. It depends. Like if you already have a city in your mind that you're going to go to, and you know what airports are in the city, you can also look for the airlines that fly into the airports and check their websites also, just so that you get more options when it comes to booking within airlines, because flights are not cheap, they're expensive, and you can spend a good amount of money from your budget just buying flights. So I try to get the cheapest flights as I can. So yeah, another tip that I can give you is to try and book all your flights. If you're going to multi-destinations, if you're just going to one, then try to just book the one at least 3 months before you end up going on vacation, on holiday, wherever it is that you're going to go, whenever it is that you're planning to go. At least leave a 3-month window, because as you get closer and closer to the month that you're going to travel, it's going to get more expensive, especially since I travel during the summertime. Ticket prices get really, really, really expensive. So I would say try to have an idea months ahead of what your route is going to look like if you're planning, different countries. And if you can book early, book it. Another tip of mine is when I book my initial flight, I don't book the first cheap flight that I see, because I definitely want to ensure that I get the cheapest price. So like I said, I search already months in advance, and then when it comes to February, it's kind of like a crunch time for me, because I know that I want to book my first flight within that month. So generally I do find a lot of good deals, and if I see a deal that's amazing that I haven't seen anywhere else, I resist the urge to buy it right away, and I just let it sit and I'll take a couple days, take a week, whatever it is. and to make sure that I'm not just buying it because I thought it was a good deal. So if it's still sitting in my head after a couple days, after a week, and I'm not seeing any other flights that are just as good, then I go right away and I buy the flight. Okay, so another tip that I have for you with cheap flights, what I always do when I'm looking for flights to go to different places, I always open up a blank email and I copy and paste all the different flights that I find that are within a decent price range, good price range. So I have an idea of how much tickets are going to the destination that I'm planning or destinations that I'm looking at. And that way I can always reference back to my email and look at the different airlines that are flying and how much it costs and how long it would take. And it just gives me a better understanding of how I should go about booking. You know, maybe sometimes when you go through like Expedia, Priceline, they give you different airline carriers that take you to the same destination, and sometimes you find airlines there you didn't know existed. So if you reference back to your email, you can see the different airline carriers, go to their website, check out the price, check the same route through other booking websites as well. So I like to do that a lot, and trust me, I end up having so many emails full of just like pictures of flights that I saw that were interesting. Next tip is to sign up for fare alerts from different booking websites. So you have like airfarewatchdog.com, which they let you put in a route that you're looking for, and they email you whenever that route has dropped in fare. So that's a good thing. Like if you don't actually know where you want to go and you're just looking for the cheapest place, or just you're open-minded about it, or if you do have a set route, it's good to get alerts, because websites do have sales sometimes. During holidays, sometimes the prices go down and they want to get rid of tickets. So it's always cool to see the different participating websites that are just, you know, dropping the fares on a lot of flights. So Priceline, Expedia, airfarewatchdog.com, and I'll put a bunch of other links and stuff that I have below if you want to know. Okay, so another tip I can give you is to follow on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever it is, different websites, because different websites like Priceline or airline carriers also sometimes have their own like Twitter accounts and stuff like that, and when you follow them, a lot of times they will post when they're having sales. So if you're always on your phone, you're always checking Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, whatever it is, you can also, that might be a good thing for you, so you can just follow them, sign up, and you'd get deals and alerts. Sometimes they have, you know, special fares for, you know, Facebook or for Instagram or something like that, or for Twitter. So that's a good thing to check out, to follow different carriers and airline carriers and websites on social media. Okay, and another tip that I have to give you, look at like secondary airports within the city that you plan on going to, or look at other cities. Sometimes we only have certain cities stuck in our head that we want to visit, like let's say Rome. You only want to visit Rome, but if you check, Rome has, let's say, 2 airports. So if you fly through one airport, it's more expensive than flying to the secondary airport, and even though it's a little bit farther away, it's a bit cheaper. So I also take that into account, that sometimes some airports are cheaper than other ones within the same city, or maybe I might go to a different town that's close that isn't too far to get to the original city that I want to. And I always make sure that there's a way to get to, you know, the main center of the town that I'm going to. So I wouldn't book a flight to a secondary airport if it's going to cost me a lot of money to get to the main city, because then you're just losing out that way. So you have to take a lot of different things into account. And then the last tip that I can give you, sometimes I have to end up being flexible and end up going to countries that I didn't originally plan to, just because it's cheaper. So I think being open-minded to other countries, especially if you're starting out and you haven't visited a lot of places. I mean, the world is huge. There's a lot of different places you can go to. So being open-minded is a tip that I think is a really good one. Okay, another tip that I use a lot is even though I do have certain places that I want to go to when I'm planning my trip, sometimes I end up changing my route, or I change the destinations that I'm going to because other places are cheaper to go to. So if I'm going to country A, but it's kind of expensive during the time that I'm going, I'll search for other countries within the area that I might be interested in, or even farther away that just, you know, tickled my fancy kind of thing. And I will check how much it is to get to those places. And a lot of times I find cheaper flights to go to places that I never even planned to go. And it's a great way to explore a new country. And also, you can also sometimes find cheap flights from that destination that you didn't originally plan. So I might do a detour, go to a country that I didn't plan, and then from there it might be cheaper to go to the country that I originally planned to. So I do look at that. But of course that has to do with how much time you have. Yeah, so those are all the tips that I can think of right now when it comes to trying to find cheap flights. Yeah, so if you are, I don't know, if you have any questions or anything like that, you can leave them below and I will answer them and get back to you. And I'll have all the links to different websites and stuff that I use that I find are helpful. And I'll try to put all of that below, but there's so many things that I look at. Yeah, I also put all my social media so you can follow me there, and I will see you guys for another video. Let me know what kind of tips you want to see, you want to, know about, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.